Various organisations and parties have welcomed the resignation of former Sport, Arts and Culture Minister Zizi Kodwa as a Member of Parliament. Kodwa resigned on Wednesday over corruption allegations relating to state capture cases. Before his departure, Kodwa was nominated to serve in the Portfolio Committee on Basic Education, a move opposed by rights group Equal Education. The group's Itumeleng Mothlabane joins us for reaction. Itumeleng, appreciate your time this afternoon. What prompted Equal Education's opposition to Zizi Kodwa's nomination to the Portfolio Committee on Basic Education?
Thank you so much. We know that the Department of Basic Education is not above corruption itself, and the role of the Portfolio Committee is to make sure that none of that happens inside the Department of Education. And so as Equal Education, we see the Portfolio Committee as one of the most important institutions in making sure that our departments perform accordingly. And so when you put someone that already has allegations against corruption, that weakens that structure and what it's supposed to do. It then makes the structure not resemble the kind of integrity that it needs to resemble. And so that's why we stood against Mr. Kodwa being part of the Portfolio Committee of Education.
So one of the questions that arises is, why did he even go to Parliament if he was going to resign a few days later? So what are your thoughts around his resignation? I'm sure these are welcome, but it's almost the trouble in the build-up to him eventually resigning that seems to be an issue.
Yes, so as Equal Education, we welcome the resignation, but we are also urging that it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be interested groups like Equal Education and other social movements making a call for MPs to resign, because the ANC has a step-aside policy. Why didn't they apply that? The ANC itself acknowledges that people who are accused of corruption or are on trial because of corruption shouldn't be part of powerful structures or shouldn't be deployed into things like Parliament. And so why did it happen in the first place? But secondly, what worries us more is, why is basic education a low-hanging fruit? Because in the past, as Equal Education, we had to call for the removal of Zukisa Faku in the portfolio of basic education. And so this isn't happening for the first time, but it's happening for the second time. And it worries us, the kind of thinking that goes into the people that are deployed into looking after this department.
What do you think are some of the challenges or shortcomings of the ANC's step-aside resolution in addressing the issues of corruption?
I think that this Zizi Kodwa case is one of the clear issues in terms of how the first issue is them not applying it consistently and only applying it selectively. But also it's them not making sure that especially when even in cases that are not public, they apply the step-aside resolution. And so as Equal Education, we think that this case of Zizi Kodwa is one of the biggest loopholes that we've seen on this resolution so far.
So let's talk about the new cabinet, and in particular basic education, or the areas of particular interest to you. Do you have faith? Are you confident that they will deliver on their mandate?
As Equal Education, we are looking at the department with an eye of an eagle, if I would say that. We put ourselves forward to hold accountable whoever sits on the Department of Basic Education. However, we are also skeptical because we've seen the leadership of the DA in the Western Cape that has exacerbated the inequality that we see in education. However, we still are not writing off anything. We've heard the minister speak on different occasions, and she's mentioned important things like school infrastructure, the reading revolution, and so we are also looking forward to meeting with her on the 5th of the next month so that we can establish a relationship, because we think that one of the biggest and best things that she would have to do in the next 5 years is to establish a relationship with social movements and other organizations that are closer to the ground, so that she understands what exactly are the issues that learners and school communities at large are facing, so she can respond better than what we've seen in the past.
Well, Savio Kharube seems to have done the right thing, hit the ground running. She's already met with at least 5 teachers' unions in the last few days. So that is a positive thing, and obviously speaks to some of your expectations. But let's talk about other expectations. You look forward to this engagement with the Minister. What are some of the things that you are likely to table at that meeting?
One of the urgent things for us is that just before the Minister, Angie Motshekga, was removed from her position, she changed the law of norms and standards for public school infrastructure, removing all the deadlines that obligated the Department of Education to provide school infrastructure, giving dates and years. And so we want her to reverse that thing as urgently as possible. That the law of norms and standards was a tool that has been used by Equal Education and many other schools in the country to make sure that there is transformation in the allocation of resources that go to schools. It's enabled us to be able to go to court and hold the department accountable. And so without those deadlines, it means that we will not be able to do this work again. So we want her to pay special attention to infrastructure issues. But secondly, we want her to start advocating as she gets into office for more budget to go into education. It is her role as the minister to make sure that all interdepartmental issues, interdepartmental issues, she champions education. And so in the past, we've seen the education budget decrease, particularly with what is allocated to school infrastructure. And lastly, I think one of our biggest priorities is the reading crisis that we see in this country. That needs urgent attention. We know the PILS report that told us that 78% of learners in grade 4 cannot read for meaning. That is a crisis that will land this country in a very in a bad place in the future. And so we wanted to be able to rectify it now for better chances of these learners when they go to high school, tertiary institutions, and even participate in the economy of this country. Because if that isn't reversed, then it has dire consequences for this country.
Itumeleng, my final issue really is around infrastructure, which you mentioned moments ago, and there are close on 3,900 schools in South Africa where the pit toilets are still in use. Is this a conversation that you're likely to have with the minister as well?
Yes, definitely. That conversation falls under the law of norms and standards that makes it illegal for us to have plain pit latrines. And so we know the situation with the learner in Limpopo recently that was trapped in a pit latrine. And so as Equal Education, we're saying that those dehumanizing, undignified issues should not be happening to our learners anymore. Our learners should be able to concentrate in school, inside teaching and learning, and not be worried about the kind of infrastructures that they have in their schools. And as Equal Education, we are still going to continue to make that call that these illegal structures should be eradicated totally in all of our schools to restore the dignity of those that go to public schools.
Itumeleng Mothlabane, Equal Education Head of Organising in the Eastern Cape. Appreciate your time.